What's up, everybody? This is Chibi Podcast, and we're bringing you a new video all about season 3 of My Hero Academia. So, in this video, you have me, David the Smash Fan, and we're doing this actually the first time at different computers and in different places. So,
We're not all together.
yeah, we're not all together today, but the quality is still going to be there. So, that lovely voice you heard is.
Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Copyright.
Yep, and
Woo!
last but not least,
Smash Tech Guy.
Miles Tech Guy. And we are the Chibi crew for this review. So let's get into this. Season 3.
What
In
season
what-
3?
Season 3 of My Hero Academia. What
There we go.
if there was one word sorry, if there was one word
Boku no Hero.
you could basically summarize this season, what would it be?
Plus Ultra.
Very puzzled.
2 words.
Power!
Yeah, there you go.
Power. Okay, yeah, I'll go with power. Let's go with power because this season, I think this season had so much development for a lot of the cast, especially Midoriya, and moving the story forward. It is a huge step then from season 2 because season 2 I think was great with the arc with the 4 sports festival, and then Stain was great, and the provision and then the final exam arc was a little bit weaker, and so didn't end on a great high note. And this one was able to be a little bit more consistent than season 2. I don't know what you guys think about that overall. Like before we go into specifics, like overall, how did you feel?
Overall with season 3.
Yep.
I felt like kind of like how you said earlier, but more for season 3. The beginning part was really cool, but it kind of felt a little bit lackluster for me. And towards the end, for all of this stuff, is kind of where it got me the most hyped. But the overall consistency of season 3 was keeping me going. It kept my interest peaked, and I never once kind of was like, okay, well, what else is on, kind of a thing. So it was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Right.
To me, it had the biggest epic moments of any season, but there's some caveats to that because there's a lot more filler this season, and there was some slower pacing this season. So when it finally got about halfway through the build-up, those were amazing for me, but there was a lot of slow moments. So I kind of remember more of the highlights more than anything this season. So I love it, but I don't think it was as good as maybe season 1. But I think the epic big moments were probably the best I've ever had, if that makes sense, like the climax finales.
Do you feel like there were more highlights or more
I-
peak points than in previous seasons?
I feel like there wasn't as much. I think there was about the same, but I think the peak moments were way better than the other ones.
Yeah.
The only thing that couldn't top it from that, the peak moment for season 2 for me was when Todoroki went against Midoriya. But then when we have All Might and when we have Deku versus Kacha, all that stuff, those kind of towered it. Those towered that one. So automatically the season 3, even though season 2 overall was better than season 3 had, like what Miles was saying, just better peaks. The peaks were they were mountains compared to season 2. Season 2 was like hills compared to season 3.
The goosebump sensations I got, and I'm sure you guys can all agree to, is when they're saving
ridiculous.
Bakugo.
Yeah.
That got me chills, and I remember Mr. was saying that one time. I remember you hit us up and you're freaking out about the performance that Christopher Sabat had when he's like, no, when the heroes take Bakugo, just some of the emotion on some of those scenes, and then when they finally get him where they can't fight and they just take off, and you see All Might seeing him escape and he's just smiling. I don't know, some of those moments just gave me the biggest goosebumps.
I think on top of that, since we're doing more of an English dub thing, I mean, obviously we had to watch more of a sub towards the end because the English dub was behind.
finish
The
it,
contract
yeah.
and everything, yeah.
Yeah. I think Sabat, this was his best role ever as his voice acting, because Vegeta is a constant thing. You can't really change too much. Even the anime doesn't really change him too much. But with All Might, he has various ranges of emotion. He likes to play the superhero, and I'm always happy. But when he's pissed or when he's cornered, he plays it very well. And I give Chris Sabat top tiers.
His voice reminds me of Piccolo when he's training Goten and Trunks, like that type of attitude, but like on steroids.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Because he's more goofy during that like Gotenks arc, so he kind of brought out that side of thought a little bit. But yeah, I agree. I felt like season 3 was like where he's like, I mean, sure he's been comfortable with 1 and 2, but I think season 3 is like he's just embraced his character as if it was like Piccolo or Vegeta. Like I feel he knows All Might at this point like very well.
Yeah, and I like it.
And like I was saying, like all these characters are finally developing into, you know, going more specifics into their quirks and to what kind of heroes they want to be, and we got huge revelations, we got huge climactic moments in this season, and it ended in a way that it wasn't like a huge cliffhanger. And we'll go more into detail, you know, in the spoiler part of this video, but it ended in like a little step into where the show's gonna go next, and it's gonna go back into, you know, the good guys versus bad guys, and because the second half of this season was again more focusing on each individual character and focusing on their progression and how they're developing. But now it's like, okay, we did that a little bit. Now we're going back to the main part, which is them going against the villains. And so it left on this small little cliffhanger, and then just said, you know, continued in season 4, which we knew it was going to happen. But it was just cool that they just kind of like, they don't have to use a big cliffhanger to have people be excited for the next season, because they've been continuously coming out with great quality and animation and story and all that, so that people are not upset that it was like there wasn't a huge reveal at the end, like a big one like in the previous seasons, because it's not needed anymore. And I think that's really great.
And I think what they've been doing too is what I've noticed from the mangaka, and then what they do with the anime is he does parts in each arc. Like his arcs are like school training, then bad guys, school training, then bad guys, school training, then bad guys. And you know, like even though you can tell that's what's going to happen, it's a breath of fresh air in the sense of like it's not always a constant danger. And then when you see the characters progress, you're not seeing just one guy over like towering everybody over their progression. Everyone is progressing just as much as the main character, and that's what I'm liking a lot about season 3, because season 3 is showing everyone's like, oh, see, we in the beginning they do, you know, where they were at was a training, and so they were training to get their quirks stronger. And then later on throughout the season, you see all that training is paid off for everybody, and it's way cool to see everybody's reaching those milestones. And that's what makes me enjoy season 3 a lot.
I'm a huge sucker for training in like any show, like especially like rewatching Naruto right now, like this Kai edit some fan did. I mean, training to me in all these animes are just my funnest part of anything, and Deku's training's always been so much fun to watch. I think season 2 might have been a little bit more my favorite on the training part, but I remember in season 3 where he decides to use his legs. Like I was just yelling at the TV, right? Just like he's like, what does all mean? Like, you know, you got to make it my own. It's like, just use your damn legs, dude. Don't just stop copying them. And then he finally figures it out, and it's just like, yes. Like I don't know, that just I love stuff like that. You know what I mean? In these shonen, I love training. Training is.
I like it. And what I like about it too is you're seeing everybody's expanding on their quirks and making new weapons or new ways of using it, and it's really cool because you're seeing actual progression. And it's like I said earlier, it's not just one person; it's everybody across the board.
What was Bakugo's thing, the guys where he was doing like that triangle figure with his hand to do like a direct blast?
Well, he did like a circle on his hand, but then
you know what I'm talking about.
It's a concentrated shot more.
Yeah,
more
that was really unique that he did, and I really liked that. I don't know, but yeah, it's
so overall. Before we go into sports, we'll leave the last like 5 minutes of this video to go into spoilers and then at best moments we had in this.
Yeah.
What would you give it a rating out of 10 chibis?
I like to give it an 8, but realistically, in a real world, I'd probably give it a 7.5. I mean, for my taste, it was an 8, but if I look at it like, you know, subjectively, it's probably 7.5.
I think an 8 for me because I think season 2 barely beat it with an 8.5 for me.
Okay.
8 it's a solid 8. Consistently throughout the board. If we're going like hype moments, it's got like a 9.5 overall.
Yeah, I can see that.
But if you like with everything with the ups and downs of it and the fillers and all that junk, it's about a good 8.
What about you, Dave?
Despite all the fillers, mine's a solid 9. and it is because of the climactic points overshadow or tower what the problems that they had, especially with the fillers one. And I understand the fillers that they read, because you could feel it that the writing was different than what it was in the manga. Like you could
see,
pinpoint
like
it.
what Miles was talking about before too. There's an episode towards the second half of season 3, and he was saying this kind of off story. Was this something the mangaka did? And we're like, no, this is not his story. This is a completely original animated episode. And so he's like, oh, okay, because you could tell like the writing of the mangaka to the anime staff creating their own episode is very, very night and day. And I think that's what kind of affected it. But the thing is, what they want to do is they want to keep the manga kind of pure, like keep it pure to the manga, and only add small filler-esque stuff, which I'm okay with. But
it almost reminded me of like Naruto apparent filler. So I really didn't like the filler in this one as much, and I understand why they do it, but I was really bored. Especially through the provision license exam or whatever. That scene was just, it was too slow for me, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. But
so we have a few minutes left. So let's go into spoiler stuff.
Okay.
Probably hands down, the biggest, most climactic part had to be All Might fighting, All for One.
Yep.
Yes.
Because
100%.
Oh my gosh! And this was such a bittersweet
that
one
whole
because
arc.
Yeah, the first 2 minutes, like, Midoriya fighting Muscular is also like right up there, him fighting because he
Kachan versus Midoriya.
Kachan versus Midoriya is a great one that happens. Some of the fights in the provisional exam arc where you have Todoroki and what's his name, his name is Inasa Yoarashi, who's like the wind dude. Like those were great parts, but All Might, him losing his power, and what he had to do to basically end his story or end his superhero career was so emotionally taxing. I remember when I read, because I read the manga. I remember when I read this was like, it was hard to get through, especially the part where he reveals that that Nana, his mentor, that Shigaraki is her grandson, and you see All Might just like he's destroyed, and All for One is like, where's your smile now? And he kind of mimics what she did and told like All Might, about the ones who are the strongest are the one that smile. I was like, oh my gosh.
The scene that got me on that emotionally more than anything was when you see him on the monitor after he's exhausted himself, and he just looks down and then points his finger up, telling Midoriya that you're up next. That scene got me so hard, dude. And then you see Midoriya, it's just like, oh man, I felt the emotion go to my heart immediately. It's like, damn, dude, you've got to step up now. It's your turn. Like, that was just, that was so impactful.
What about you, Mister? About that? Because I'm pretty sure that's your favorite. If not,
it's my favorite scene. It's my favorite scene because what got me so much for it was the one part where All for One he was talking to All Might and telling him, like, you have nothing but embers and you're trying to shield it from the snow. And that scene was just you felt bad for All Might because it's like he really is just holding on to embers. And then when he does his United States of Smash, that's like I said, Christopher Abbott pulled out all of his emotion into it. He basically pulled a Sean Schemmel in his screaming, because he doesn't really do Sean Schemmel screams. Sean Schemmel screams are legit out of his core body, and that's what Chris did. And like he did it, and then the epic scene where it just shows, the embers turn into this big giant flame. One last push. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was like getting teary eyed. And I felt like I was 8 years old again, watching like cartoons, and I was like, this is so cool.
Right, that's kind of what I had to feel too. It's like your inner child is just like freaking out inside.
One of the best things about that is when he's finally like he hits him with his left arm, and hits when All Might hits All for One. And he's like, you had nothing, like, that didn't feel like anything. It's because I didn't put my back into it. And he switches all to his right arm. And then that last part where it shows Nana talking, and he's saying, like, now it's your turn to touch it, and he hands, like, that little orb or whatever that symbolizes, one for all. and she metaphorically puts it in his right hand, and then he grasps it and then punches all for one. I was like, ah.
I think the fight animations were some of the best. I mean,
dude. One of the ones, is Bakugo's when he explodes to get to hold Kirishima's hand to escape.
Yes.
That, oh my gosh, that blew
That's where
me
they put
away.
all the animation.
I was screaming at my TV, jumping up and down like a little 5-year-old. I'm not even making that up. I can't make that up. At 29 years old, I was jumping out of my seat screaming.
I was like, oh, and then they put tons of money into the fight between Midoriya and Bakugo.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah, that was that pan around that they do when that was some quality. Like I was just looking at the scenes like money.
Oh,
oh my god, that fight between them was great.
And then I have to talk about the music here because I think overall the music was, especially the openings, were really great. So the first one I know was more, I guess, controversial. The one that was split a lot of fans was the first song was Odd Future by Uberworld, which was like this kind of techno rock song, and a lot of people were being like, "What? This doesn't match, what's happening in the opening." And
I still agree with that.
And to what I agree, but the song. Think the song was getting great, and I felt that more and more you listen to it, and if you listen to like people saying it wasn't heavy, it was heavy. It's just you have to basically you have to hear with actually good monitors, speakers, because you hear more the bass, more bassy, more I guess an EDM song, and there's more bass into it. So in that way, it's heavy. But again, the song was really catchy, and then the one that I think for Malice is Miles is the Make My Story, the second opening from Lenny Code Fiction.
I've been blasting at my car.
I'll tell you, that one, it took me a while to get to like it, because I like the little funkiness that it had in it.
Yeah,
but for whatever reason, it just wasn't catching on to me. Yeah.
I think the thing is with that Uberworld version of the first one was so not if you separate it from the My Hero Academia as an intro, it was so much more catchier than the second one. But then when you add in My Hero Academia as an intro to it, it's not as strong as the second one. The second one fits in so much better for the intro. So I felt
it just felt very My Hero-ish, for the energy that the show gives. I just felt that song was perfect. The quirky, goofy but serious at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense.
I understand. And
then, very plus ultra.
Yeah, so the songs, the openings were really good, and the characters that they introduced, that will play bigger parts in the later on in the stories, or that were main focus in some of the arcs were great. They in the provisional exam arc, they introduced that there's two schools that do hero training, which is the Shiketsu High School and the Ketsubutsu High School.
I'm surprised you knew that. I did not know that.
And then the Ketsubutsu one was funny because they have the teacher's Miss Joke, which is the one that her powers is if she makes people laugh, she has control or something like that. I can't remember, and she tries to make fun of Aizawa of Eraserhead, saying oh yeah, we're dating her, and they're like, what? And he's stop with the jokes. And so she was funny. I liked her a lot. She
was good. She was a good character. I liked her. She was very funny.
But the big ones that came out of this was like I said, Inasa Yoarashi, which is the one that has the wind quirk, who was placed first as a recommendation for UA. And then you had Cammy, who Midoriya fought, who she's sexy, man. She's awesome. And then the last one we had the freaking meatball guy, the Seiji Shishikuda.
He's a weird quirk. I don't like his quirk. It's weird.
What were the names of the intro people? The cats?
Oh, the
Pussycat something. Yeah, those characters, I thought they were really weird at first, but they grew on me amazingly. I thought they were great characters, and then the guy cat too. All that group, I just thought was awesome at the intro.
It was very good. I liked them.
They were cool. I wish that they would have had a bigger role in the second half of the series. I mean, you don't see them, so you don't know what happens to them. So you're gonna have to wait till next season to see if you see them or what they're doing now. But the names were, let's see here. There was Ragdoll, was one of them.
Oh, okay.
That's the one I remember. I can't
The-
find him.
The whole
Rec-
intro scene too, where Deku's like help and rescue with his name, it kind of reminded me of Naruto when he's fighting Zabuza and he meets this little kid that finds out about his dad dying. It kind of reminded me of that whole scene again. And I was like, oh, are they going to do something a little bit different? And they eventually did, because the kid was driving me nuts. But I didn't really like him at the very end. I did. So I thought a lot of the character growth and character building in this season was probably one of the best, actually.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I got
That was just an example one, but you know what I mean. Like overall, the character growth was the best in here. Like my favorite character, Todoroki, I thought his growth in this was unbelievable.
He finally kind of breaks his mold of
Yes.
why he's always angry, or he's very hostile to Midoriya. You know, all this like it kind of reminds me of he just had all these pent up emotions that he never really released because of whatever reasons, and because like he, you know, I think the tipping point was him not getting the license and Midoriya getting it. He is like, okay, we have to talk about. He wanted like this therapeutic session, and that fight was him releasing his emotions and
Taking it out.
Midoriya understanding him and
All my understanding.
yeah,
too,
and all my
'cause he's like,
understanding.
let's just let him fight.
and
Like
so-
what that
well,
one Asian
it's
guy
like-
when it goes Godzilla and those monsters. Let them.
let them fight.
Well, it was just nice to kind of see like with Todoroki though, because like he's not like Bako. Like he's hot headed, but not in like an expressional way. Like he's always kind of just fighting on his own, doing his own thing, just believes in his own power. But at the same time, like he's not learning that being a hero requires more than just being by yourself. And I liked how he accepted the responsibility like an adult of him not getting his license, understanding what he did wrong and what he needs to work on, and accepting that. And that's what I really liked on his character.
Right.
Yeah,
There's
I do
so many
too.
good things, and so let me give you the names of the wild pussycat dolls. So there's Mandalay. She's the one that was fighting in the forest. She didn't get hurt. Tiger is the brother. Pixie Bob. She gets hit by that guy who has that magnetic quirk for the people, and then Ragdoll is the one that loses her quirk. She's the one with the green hair.
Oh, okay. Which one's the one with the yellow hair?
Pixie Bob.
Yeah, she was my personal favorite out of that group. I loved her.
But
So she's a fun character.
and then, like I said, the ending, the way that there's a cliffhanger on it, and they introduced characters, which I honestly thought they were going to introduce for next season. But they introduced the big three of UA. It's Mirio Togata, Nejire Hado, and Tamaki Amajiki. Mirio Togata, which I name him Pip-Boy, he's the number one hero at UA, and he destroys everyone, showing why he's number one. And
one punch.
and on top of that, it's showing who the villains are going to be in the next season, because you see Overhaul, who is this guy who has like a bird beak mask thing, who
Nobody who hasn't read the manga doesn't know what his quirk is.
doesn't know
So you
anything
get to
about
see
him.
that next season, yeah.
You just know that Twice, the guy that has the two personalities, he brought Overhaul to Shigaraki, and that's where it ends. So like, what's gonna happen now? I'm like, this is where there's gonna be a tone shift in the story, and things are gonna get effing wild. I'm just gonna tell you that much. It's gonna get wild in season 4. Like you can't be
It's gonna
All
get
Might
very
fighting. Yeah, you can't be All Might fighting all for one. But it's like almost at that level of what's gonna happen. So I know Maz doesn't read the manga, but you're gonna be. I'm telling you, set the bar
It's gonna be a very
high.
dark one. It's gonna be a very dark one. It's gonna be one that you're gonna be enjoying it quite a bit.
Set the bar high, because it will reach that. It will meet your expectations, Miles. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I can't.
What?
We have some connection
Huh?
issues.
What'd you say?
Connection issues.
There you go.
Oh, I was saying what I do like is I like these yearly breaks. I mean, yeah, it sucks we don't have it all the time, but I mean, it gets rid of a lot of like the complications like Dragon Ball Super had, right? I
Right.
like where it's just kind of just straight manga. You get a break, you get quality animation. So I'm really liking these seasons. Hold on, sorry, the dog's barking here.
No, it's
we
all
get
good.
those seasonal breaks. No, I get what he's talking about. It gives us a good enough time to relax from the anime and not lets us. It gives us more hype when it comes back, because it's like, oh, this comes back soon, this comes back in 6 months, but you're gonna have to give the time so that you get the core story. You're not getting these side stories, and I think that's a great way to go about it.
Right. Yeah, I do too. I think Miles, is he still there?
Yeah, no, I'm still
Okay.
here.
All
I
right.
just
So
want to close my door.
I was gonna say, I think that's it for this review of My Hero Academia season 3. If you haven't seen My Hero Academia, go watch it. First season's only 12 episodes, and each one is 25 after. But you will watch it, and it'll go by in a flash. Like,
Everybody I've ever introduced it to has been just hooked. They marathon it. So, go watch. And also, if you're already watching, I believe they didn't they extend some extra days for the movie that's currently out, which was, by the way, one of the best shonen anime movies of all time, in my opinion.
which we'll do a video on that. You'll see it soon, probably up on the channel. But yep, thanks so much, guys, for listening to this review. If you guys have any comments or opinions, maybe you didn't like it at all, which I'm gonna tell you right now, you're lying. You loved it, but tell us what other parts maybe you didn't like or what you liked. So, Mr. Where can they find us?
They can find us on Facebook.com/Chibi no Podcast. They can find us on YouTube at Chibi Podcast, and a Twitter account that's not used at all at Chibi no Podcast, capital C, capital N, capital P. And there.
All right. Well, signing off. This is David the Smash Fan.
Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Copyright.
Miles, your tech guy.
And this is Chibi no Podcast.